Is 8 gigabytes enough? It turns out graphics card memory is actually a bit more complicated than that, and it's not just about capacity. Hey Internet, I'm Brad Charkis, here at Will Smith.
Hi.
And we just want to give a quick explainer about graphics card memory, because it's a big deal.
Wait, hold on. My understanding is that 8 gigabytes is never enough for anything, and if you have a card with 8 gigabytes, you should just take it out and huck it into the ocean because it's worthless. That's what the internet told me.
The internet's wrong sometimes. It's actually a pretty complicated question. It depends on the resolution that you play at, the kinds of games you're trying to play, what kind of features you turn in on your game. But just want to take a moment here to talk to people and kind of get the point across what you should look for in graphics cards.
Okay.
So 8 gigabytes can be enough memory, actually. For a lot of people playing at 1080p, especially if you're not trying to crank up ray tracing, if you're not trying to crank up the latest and greatest features, you're not trying to path trace Minecraft, 8 gigabytes will get you looking great in most games. Even, especially if you do like I recommend and put your games on high rather than ultra. Like, don't play on ultra.
I mean, if you're running at 1080p, probably you're not an ultra gamer, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
So in that case, 1080p can definitely be enough, especially if it'll save you some money and let you get a budget entry-level graphics card instead of spending up for a higher-end mid-range card.
That makes a ton of sense. What exactly do you lose, though, when you're looking at 8 gig? Like, you're looking at, are you losing frame rate? Are you losing ray tracing? Probably you're not turning up the ray tracing all the way. What else? Yep. What else do you lose?
So if you have 8 gigabytes of memory, you're probably not going to be able to turn up those features. If you are trying to run a game where you do wind up using more capacity in the game than your graphics card actually has, then you might experience some weirdness.
We saw a lot of, like, Indiana Jones. If you go above the memory capacity of the card that you have, we saw the frame rate just plummets and it locks at like 3 frames a second or something like that.
Yep. That's an extreme case because of the way Indiana Jones runs, but that's the general idea. Like, depending on the game, things happen differently. Like, sometimes textures will get silently downgraded.
Okay.
Like, they just won't look as good. They won't necessarily tell you, hey, we're downgrading your textures. Rather than having the performance drop, they'll just downgrade
the game just kind of knows to automatically dump it down rather than give you the bad experience.
And if you wind up going significantly over your graphics card's memory, it can get really gnarly because they have to start sending those requests to your system memory, which is way slower, so you could start seeing drastic performance shutdowns, really drastic like lag spikes, stuff like that. But as long as you're being responsible with the sort of settings that you're setting for the kind of card that you're using, you can generally work around that.
Okay. I mean, like, I feel like there's different types of people who play games, right? There's people who play competitive games and only play competitive games. There's people who play everything the moment it comes out. There's people who play, like, who've been playing World of Warcraft for the last 25 years and they're never going to stop, right?
Yep.
Where are we on the 8 gig scale? Like, does the 8 gig card work for all of those folks, or is it like some are better than others?
An 8 gig card could work for all of those folks. If you're the kind of person who likes to see all the eye candy, all the bells and whistles, some games already use more than 8 gigs, so you run an issue with that. But if you don't mind playing on medium, especially if you play esports games and stuff like that, 8 gigabytes is totally fun.
Look, I'm bitmaps all the way up so that my Quake ammo boxes look like just big red blurs, right?
Heck yeah. So as you step up in resolution, like if you're playing at 1440p at 4K, memory becomes even more critical because at those higher resolutions you use a lot more memory, especially again as you turn on all these features. So the big debate these days is 12 gigabytes enough? Because we're starting to see some graphics cards with 12. I know.
I already told you 8 gigabytes, just throw the card in the ocean, it's done, baby.
Well, this is like that plus 50%.
But yeah, so Intel came out with the Battle Mage cards, and they were 12 gig cards, right? It's $250 12 gig cards. That seems like a pretty good 1440, like 1080p, maybe 1440p on some stuff type situation.
Yep. So a lot of people ask on the Full Nerd podcast, is 12 gigabytes enough? And the answer is it depends. That's the answer for all of these. But personally, I feel like 12 gigabytes can definitely be enough if you're playing at 1440p and you are not necessarily playing the latest and greatest games with all the most strenuous features turned on. I feel like 12 gigabytes of capacity will last you very well in most games. Yes, there are some exceptions.
Yeah. Okay, so is memory size the only thing that matters here?
Yeah. Memory size is not the only thing that matters, believe it or not, especially as you step up in resolution. if you get 12 gigabytes of capacity at 1440p, you should be good. Like, most games will run that. Yes, you might want 16. You definitely want 16 or more at 4K. But a part of memory configurations that are critical, and very few people seem to know about this, is the size of the memory bus width.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Bus width can actually, like, affect performance. It makes a big difference. Because if you have 500 cars going down an 8-lane highway, everything's going fast, going fine, cruising along at 60 miles an hour. If you have them on a single lane dirt road, everything gums up, everything goes slower. What that means practically for graphics cards is that it limits your resolution. So this is especially critical around like the $500-600 range, because a lot of the cards in that price range you can find with 192-bit buses. And that is perfectly fine. That's great for 1440p. But if you are hoping to play at 4K resolution, 192-bit bus is a serious nerf, and it will hold your performance back.
This is tied to fill rate, right? Like fill rate is the thing that we talk about when we talk about how many pixels the card can actually display every second.
Yep.
And it's typically in non-ray trace stuff, at least.
Yes.
It has directly to do with memory bandwidth. And that means the width times the number, the clock cycles of the memory transfers per second of the memory.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird though, because they don't ever put the stuff on the box, right?
No.
You see, oh, this is a GeForce 5070 and it has 8 gigs or 12 gigs of RAM. This is a RTX 580 and it's got 16 gigs of RAM, and they don't ever talk about the memory bus width when it turns out it's one of the more expensive things that they do.
Yep.
And it also has a huge performance impact.
It's actually kind of funny because back in the day, like 2000s and before, like this mattered greatly. And then we went through an era where this didn't matter so much because 1440p was like the apex of what you could do.
Yeah.
And they were slapping memory buses on there that were plenty big enough for that. But now as we get along further with the technology, these companies are investing more in things like on-die cache and stuff like that to keep from having to go to the memory to begin with. And as a result, they're starting to shrink the memory buses back down.
Because it's cost savings.
It's cost savings.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, but if you are hoping, this is especially a big deal again, around the $500 to $600 range. Like if you're hoping to play at 4K, just make sure you have a big enough memory bus.
So then, is the memory bus something that the AIBs can choose? Can one AIB vendor for a 5070 say I want to have a 192-bit memory bus, and another one say I want a 256-bit bus?
Absolutely not.
Sadly. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, this is part of the package that comes from AMD, NVIDIA.
Okay.
So
then you want to look at the bit width on the memory bus per family of cards, probably.
Yep. And not every review you see will always have that. We make a point of having it in ours. You should definitely go, like, if you're looking to buy XYZ graphics card, go onto the technical specs page for the NVIDIA site, the AMD site, the Intel site, and just look at it and make sure you're looking good.
So I'm going to ask what might be a stupid question, but we've talked a lot about frame gen and AI upsampling and AI ray reconstruction, all these AI things that run on tensor cores that make your frames run bigger, better, faster, whatever.
Yep.
Does that save memory? Is that going to let me? Is frame gen going to let me run more frames on an 8 gig card than I would be able to run if I was running real frames?
It's a complicated question, actually.
Okay.
But no, not as much as you would expect.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense, right? The memory for the tensor cores has to go somewhere, and it's got to cut out of the memory for the rest of the pipeline, right?
Like it can actually like reduce memory demands like from the ray tracing process itself and stuff like that. But just the act of using the upsampling and putting it through all this stuff, turning on the AI cores, it washes out.
Okay. No, there's no free memory.
No. Or you can always download more RAM. But
yeah, well, I mean, I got that memory doubler, so those don't download video RAM memory doublers. It's a bad idea.
So I think general rule of thumb, if you're looking at a graphics card, if you're looking for 1080p, you don't want to go below 128-bit bus, 8 gigabytes of memory, ideally more. Like we really like the Intel Arc B580.
Yeah.
Because it has 12 gigabytes of memory. If you're playing 1440p, ideally you'd want to have 256-bit bus, so twice what you're looking at 1080p. At least 12 gigabytes of memory, ideally 16. And if you're playing 4K and above, you definitely want 256 bits. And as much memory is better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. It's funny, like the memory bus width has been a thing that has been super important, and reviewers all know about, and nobody talks about hardly.
Yeah.
So it's good to get it out there.
Yeah. So hopefully that made sense. Hopefully you learned something today. Hopefully it'll save you some money and make sure you get what you want the next time you go buy a graphics card. Thank you for watching PC World. Stay tuned, subscribe, kick the bell, and we'll see you around next time.